It was remarkable that Jim Jordan was losing it in a hearing, ranting and raving, interrupting poor Rod Rosenstein. But now they've gone the extra mile. It's funny that the Republicans have been saying, oh, you put the Democrats in charge, they're going to be running impeachment hearings, they're going to be disrupting business. The only ones talking about impeachment and impeachment without a scintilla of justification are, in fact, the Republicans. So, unfortunately, there is something called the speech and debate clause, which protects these gentlemen from liability, criminal or otherwise, because of actions they take in their official capacity. So they can't be sued or they can't be investigated. They can't be investigated for obstruction of justice. But make no mistake, that is what they are doing. They are obstructing the investigation. And it just shows you which side is on the side of the rule of law and which side is not.
There you have it. One of the panelists last night on MSNBC. Our major news story of the day, we thought it would be Pompeo. We thought it would be his hearing before the Senate yesterday. But the House has moved to go after Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Here's our own Griff Jenkins.
The clock is ticking on this story, but it was frustration over delays in document production by the DOJ that led the House Freedom Caucus chairman, Mark Meadows, to file these articles of impeachment. He was joined by 10 other Republicans. Now, Meadows' accusations are withholding documents and communications, stonewalling deadlines, defying subpoenas, and engaging in potential FISA abuse. Apparently, it was the release of that FISA application last weekend that was the final straw in this decision. Joining Meadows was Congressman Jim Jordan.
And we'll have that sound for you coming up. That's one story. Also, this is what happened yesterday in the United States Senate. Bob Menendez, ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, interviewing, or let's just say interrogating, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. We give you this audio clip on both of our stations. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM for entertainment and perhaps provocative purposes only.
You can put your microphone on.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The presidents have a prerogative to choose who's in meetings or not. I'm confident you've had private one-on-one meetings in your life as well. You've chosen that setting as the most efficient way to...
I just asked you a simple question. You
can't
eat up my 7 minutes, Mr. Secretary. Did he tell you whether or not what happened in those 2 hours?
Yes, Senator.
That's right. We want to know what the president said to Putin because I'm sure they weren't exchanging passwords for Netflix. I'm sure the president doesn't have Vladimir Putin's Amazon Prime login, right? Or his to Hulu or Netflix. It's crazy at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. But it gets a little bit more heated. Mike Pompeo yesterday, the Secretary of State, showing that he's no wallflower, Menendez.
The predicate of your question implied some notion that there was something improper about having a one-on-one meeting. I completely disagree with the premise of the question.
I didn't ask you a predicate. I asked you a simple question. I hope we're going to get through it. Did he tell you what transpired in the 2-hour meeting?
I've had a number of conversations with President Trump about what transpired in the meeting. I was also present when he and President Putin both gave us a sense of what they discussed in the meeting that followed immediately after.
Did you have
I've also had the chance to speak with Sergei Lavrov twice about the Russian view on what takes place. I think I have a pretty complete understanding of what took place.
Did you speak to the translator who was at that meeting?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen any of her notes?
Senator, I've been in lots of meetings. I've had lots of note takers and lots of translators. I've never relied on the work that they did.
Did the
for me to
president
understand what took place in that meeting, and it does not need to be done here, and won't be.
Did the president discuss relaxing U.S. sanctions on Russia, including CAATSA sanctions?
Senator, the U.S. policy with respect to sanctions remains completely unchanged.
So the president did not, is what you're telling me, that I ask a very specific question.
Yes,
did
Senator,
the president tell you that he discussed relaxing Russia sanctions or not? Yes or no?
Senator, presidents are entitled to have private meetings. I'm telling you what U.S. policy is. I came here today.
No, but you told me that he had a conversation with you in which he told you what transpired. I think the nation and so all of us who are policy makers deserve to know so that we can fashion policy accordingly. Did he tell Putin that I'll release or ultimately relax sanctions?
Senator, what you need to conduct your role, your appropriate role, I will provide you today. That is United States.
Senator Menendez, know your role.
States policy with respect to the issues you request. You asked me about U.S. policy with respect to sanctions, and I can confirm to you that no commitment has been made to change those policies in any way.
Did the president at this meeting call upon President Putin to withdraw from Crimea and eastern Ukraine?
Senator, I began my statement today with the United States government's policy.
I understand the
with respect to
declaration, and I
Crimea.
welcome it. I'm glad that it seems like we had to do a lot of effort to get there. But the question is, when he had a chance, did he confront Putin and say, we don't recognize your annexation of Crimea, we don't recognize your continuing hostilities in eastern Ukraine, and there's consequences for that?
Senator, the president was very clear with Vladimir Putin about U.S. positions. They're the U.S. positions that are the Trump administration's positions, and he spoke about them very firmly and clearly when he met with Vladimir Putin.
And that, he told you that?
Senator, I'm telling you what he had a conversation with Vladimir Putin about, and I'm telling you what U.S. policy is today. I understand, Senator, I understand the game that you're playing.
No, Mr.
I understand the game that you're playing, Senator Menendez, but you need to cut it. You need to zip it. By the way, Senator Risch is set to take over, I believe, the Foreign Relations Committee, which this all took part of. I did hear his testimony yesterday with Mike Pompeo. Very different from Senator Menendez.
Mr. Secretary, with all due respect, I don't appreciate you characterizing my questions. My questions is to get to the truth. We don't know what the truth is. And the only way that we will know what the truth is, what transpired in those 2 hours, in a highly amazing period of time to spend alone, one-on-one, is by understanding at least that if you were briefed by the president, what he told you. I don't think that's unfair to know, to understand what policy is. Let me ask you this. Did the president say they were going to change our force structure in Syria?
Senator, presidents are permitted to have conversations with their cabinet members that aren't repeated in public. I owe the president the capacity for him to have conversations with him, provide him the best foreign policy advice that I can. It's what I was
Let me ask you this, Mr. Secretary. Here's something you can answer for me, because you're not going to answer any of the questions that would get us to the truth. As CIA director, you stated in an interview with the BBC that you fully expect Russia to continue its attacks on our democracy by attempting to interfere in our midterm elections as we speak. In his conversation with Putin, I hope the president laid out the consequences of interference in the 2018 election, but I know you can't tell me that, so you're not.
Actually, I can't.
Oh, do you want to share that one with me?
I can't. No, I can't.
That one you want to share with me?
No, Senator, I can tell you that because the president has disclosed that.
Okay.
All right, there we have it. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And I know that because we're on our flagship station, Idaho's first radio station, 580-KIDO, that we have a very loyal audience. We love the people on 580, love the people on 107.5. And 107.5, our affiliate, is a great way to look at things. You have, younger people that listen to the FM. You may have even liberals that listen to this station, whether they get a giggle from listening to me or to Sean or to Lars or whomever, or Glenn or Dave Ramsey, kind of like most of us maybe will watch CNN or will watch MSNBC because we love the car wrecks, right? Does anyone, and we'll do something a little different here, really believe this Russian investigation into the tampering with our elections? Is that really a news story? And I know our progressive friends, and unfortunately, a lot of us have libs that are relatives or coworkers or friends, and God bless the libs. They add a little spice to our life. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, does anybody believe that this is a news story? This is not a news story. Whether you've watched works of fiction or read works of fiction or followed the news like our friend Hank or Pete or others, we have been interfering with countries' elections for years. We've been interfering with Russian elections, even though they don't have free and open elections. Do you think that Boris Yeltsin just happened? That Gorbachev just happened? Putin probably had more of a say than we did. But countries are like sophisticated gentlemen from the old days, that would wear fedoras and all this, that they would look clean cut, and they would be doing nefarious things behind your back. So the fact that we have this faux outrage, and I believe, one of the guys on the Five stole this idea of a book. We are engaged, and I used to say this on national TV a lot, the faux, phony outrage business. Well, the Russians interfered with our elections. What did they do? We have an FBI director that said that he leaked, that his whole motivation to leak was to get a special prosecutor that happened to be his best friend. Now, if that doesn't derail the investigation, I don't know. We have Rod Rosenstein, who doesn't cooperate with the House, who seals things, and we have an FBI agent, Peter Strzok, who blatantly says he did nothing wrong, even though we have text saying he was going to stop the election of Donald Trump. And yet we have legitimate news sources saying that these folks are credible. These folks are legitimate.
You were both rooting for Hillary Clinton to win, and you both detested Donald Trump. Did you not?
I think that's fair to say.
Right. Here we have Strzok saying this a couple months ago, right? And had the audacity to say,
you're here, and you're not taking the fifth.
That's correct.
Did you consider taking the fifth?
No.
Why not?
I've done nothing wrong. Let me rephrase that. I am sorry. I am sorry for these texts and the way they've been used, for the harm and hurt they've caused my family, for the perception of people in the public, and I am sorry and deeply regretful for that.
Right, let's just apologize and move on. But this whole investigation, Robert Mueller, the millions of dollars being spent, the anti-Trump people, the pro-Hillary Clinton people, Lanny Davis, Michael Cohen, it's much ado about nothing. That is my opinion. Because major powers do these things all the time. Does it make it right? No. But it would be naive to say, to follow the example of the libs in the press by saying, we need to stand up to Putin. We need to tell Putin, no, Putin, you're a bad Putin. The world just doesn't work that way. And neither do we. You know, it was fascinating. Many years ago, Bill Gertz wrote a book, and he talked about China and how we used to run around the world and we would condemn people for human rights abuses. And he said, Kevin Miller, one day we may live in a world where the Chinese don't like the living conditions in Mississippi. They don't like the living conditions in Harlem or Compton, right? So they're going to start sanctioning us for human rights abuses. That's the world we live in. It is naive to believe that Russia and ourselves have not been interfering in elections for quite some time. From our friend Ted on Facebook, no matter what, even if it did happen when Obama was president and he knew it, that's right, Obama was warned. Remember Mitt Romney? Well, yeah, Mitt Romney got smacked for. Mitt Romney was right. And again, you talk about a cover-up. Let's go back to all those things Obama did to us at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning, asking the question, are you really down with the Russian investigation? It's a big hoax. By the way, if you missed our interview with Judge Jeanine Pirro, it is up right now at KIDOTalkRadio.com. If you want to read over the Cliff Notes, about 200 words, gives you a nice preview. The interview, about 10 minutes. Thank you, Ray Amaya, for putting that up. Here's something. How conservative is our beloved state of Idaho? Well, how conservative is the county you live in? Now, most people that listen to this program, you live in Ada County or you live in Canyon County. And it's interesting. It's telling. Maybe Elmore County, Boise County. I'm trying to look at some of the other counties here. Gem County and Payette County. And to our friends in Oregon, God bless you. If you'd like, maybe we should annex you to the great state of Idaho and you could leave the libs on the left coast behind. But the New York Times has done a thing talking about how close the election was, an extremely close election. And it tells a little bit about, the state of Idaho. You know, Hillary Clinton actually won, one county? 2 counties in Idaho, I think. One was Latah County, 45% to 40%. And then Blaine County, 60% to 31%. Donald Trump really rolled. By the way, Oahe County, 78% of the folks there voted for Trump. Cassie County, 73%. So those are good signs. But what about the counties that listen to 107.5 FM and 580 AM? As we often say, these are our constituents. This is what matters, whether we have people now listening in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or whether you're listening in Ohio or Pennsylvania or New Hampshire or Utah or any of the other states that have tuned into us, whether it's the KIDO Talk Radio app or the Signal or what have you. So I wanted to do a little research here, and very little research. So let's take a look at the surrounding counties here. Oahe County showed up big. 78% of the folks voted for Donald Trump. We move on to Elmore County. 68% voted for that. Let's see. Why do I never mention? I just mentioned Oahe County, Terry. Thank you. We've got Boise County. 70% for Trump, 20% for Clinton. Gem County, again, 75% for Trump, 15% for Clinton. And then it gets Payette County, 75%, 17%. Then it gets to Ada County, the largest county in the state, the great state of Ada, where we proudly talk about the Republican dominance, where we proudly talk about that all things are won and lost in the state of Idaho. It's about the closest we've seen in the Gem State. Do you believe this? In Ada County, you had over 75,000 people vote for Hillary Clinton. That's a lot of blue girls in the red state. That's a lot of people coming in from California, Oregon, and Washington, and the liberal East Coast. 75,000 people. Now, thankfully, 93,752 voted for Big Don, the president. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, another message from social media. I believe those folks are all driving around with the Welcome Refugee stickers from an anonymous listener. Wow. So here we have in Ada County that should be the crown jewel of Republicanism, conservatism, Hillary Clinton, the most liberal candidate since Obama, the most flawed candidate since Hubert Humphrey, came within 11% of winning the largest county in Idaho. What does that say about our state? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Traffic and weather together. You're listening to Kevin Miller on. So as we've warned for years, it looks like the libs are getting stronger and stronger when you have only an 11% margin of victory in Idaho. Do you agree with me? Do we see more people coming in? And then people go, well, I'm a good person from California. Even Glenn Beck the other day was talking about the people coming in from California in Texas, right? And look, there are a lot of great people coming in from California, but I think there are a lot of sleeper cells. And it's not just California, it's Oregon or Oregon or whatever you want to call it. Washington, Utah. Maybe Salt Lake is too conservative for them. Or too big for them. They're trying to turn this state into Colorado. But could we see that happen? Remember, at one time, the state of Colorado reliably red, and then you had 2 big money billionaires move in, and through money, through hooks, through crooks, turn the entire state purple or even blue, right? So what I'm talking about here, by the way, you're going, well, what about Canyon County? Canyon County, much more reliable than Ada County. Of course, not the extended population. Clinton only got 23% of the vote compared to 65% in Canyon County. But even Canyon County is not as dark red as our friend Terry in Owyhee County. Of course, again, you don't have the number of people there. Some of the more reliably red counties in the Gem State, Owyhee, Idaho County, Cassia County, that's Utah, Box Elder County, Bear Lake County. These are all, look at this one, 75% to 8.7%. But in and around our place, we're not as dark red as we should be. I'd love to get your thoughts on that back. Your feedback welcome. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
Rolling right along. Coming up, Holly and Howard will take your phone calls on the election and what the future is demographically, politically here in Ada and Canyon counties in the Treasure Valley. Joining us now, our great friend Jeff Manasso, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Kevin.
It is finally here, the start of training camp. Oh.
Yeah, digging it. I'm just glad that Aaron Rodgers didn't get his arm chewed off by a shark.
Well, you hang out with that Danica Patrick, things could happen.
No comment.
Speaking of sharks, the vice president on a multi-state tour, I'm talking tax cuts, got a little heated recently.
Well, heated in the sense of protesters that have been following the vice president, much like they follow President Trump at various different locations, like today in Iowa and then later on today in Illinois. But Vice President Mike Pence delivering remarks yesterday at an America First Policies tax cut event. It was in Billings, promoting the Trump administration's tax cuts, saying there really is one way to sum up the last 18 months, according to Pence. It's been a year and a half of results, a year and a half of promises made, promises kept, and that the administration is just getting started. Basically a campaign-style speech, much like the ones we've seen across the country with Mr. Pence and President Trump in various different rallies, where the vice president also talked about job creation, fueled in addition to tax cuts, but by cutting regulation and cutting red tape. During his trip to Billings, he also helped Republican U.S. Senate candidate Matt Rosendale raise some needed cash in his bid to oust Democratic incumbent John Tester. It's what they're doing. They're in addition to these policy speeches and rallies, they're also raising money. As you know, there's a huge contest coming up this fall, and a fight for control over the House and the Senate. But President Trump, he continues his messaging today in Iowa, doing a roundtable with folks and talking trade. As you know, there was a possible deal done that he announced yesterday. I'm sure we'll hear more about it with the EU on a path to possibly zero tariffs between the EU and the United States, which is a pretty interesting concept. So we'll hear more about that. And then he's on his way to later on to Granite City, Illinois, which is just across the river from St. Louis. It's where a steel plant was shuttered back in 2015, costing 2,000 jobs, depressed community. Unemployment was skyrocketing, and because of the president's decision to turn the table around, do a 180 on steel and on regulations and some of his jobs infrastructure plan. This plant is booming. It is. They actually held a big party in the town earlier this spring when they fired up a couple of the plants, and they're happy there, and so I think the president on message is going to be a good opportunity for him to get his messaging. Certainly, he'll be in front of a friendly crowd.
Buy or sell the LA Rams?
Are they for sale? I don't even know. Are they for sale?
No. Buy or sell the Rams that they're the team to beat in the NFC.
Oh, I mean, come on. You know I got to go with my pack. Aren't you going to go with you're the AFC. So, no, I'm not going with the Rams. Heck no. What, are you crazy?
Well, you're a little bit more objective than I am, but a lot of buzz about the Rams.
Totally. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping and praying that fans can get back to football, and it'll just be football, and all the politics will go away.
That would be nice. Jeff Manasso.
That'll be a win for all of us.
I'm with you. Always appreciate you, brother.
You too.
All right, Jeff Manasso joining us. Let's get to your phone calls. If you're just tuning in, we were talking about the libs taking over Ada County. Donald Trump only winning by 11% of the vote. In Canyon County, very bigger, but the population not as big as Ada County. Does that mean Ada County could one day turn blue? Some people would say that already. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll start with Holly in Caldwell at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Holly.
Hi, Kevin. I was wondering on the number of turnout voters for Democrats in Ada County. I think I heard that their voter turnout was doubled during the primary. Do you have that information? Or
No, this is just for the presidential primary for the New York Times. But
I know during the primary, I think I heard that the Democratic voters, maybe even it was just in Idaho in general, had doubled. And I think the biggest issue is we have a lot of Idahoans thinking that no matter what, they don't really need to vote because they're going to go Republican. I think that we need to send a call out that is really important, especially in our governor's race this fall. We shouldn't want to have a blind slide and elect Paulette Jordan, who is a neo-communist who thinks capitalism is the problem. We also, I think the demographics definitely are changing with all the move-ins, but more than anything, we need more people to be involved. And then switching topics as far as on the Rosenstein and all of that, we've seen that pattern of blatant arrogance, thinking that they're kind of above the law, that they don't have to answer questions, that they can close and seal courtrooms like we saw in the Bundy case. I mean, there's just so much stuff that the American people, because they're so apathetic, that they're able to get away with because they don't think the public is paying attention, and in many respects that is true.
Wow. I would agree with you, and nobody wants to be involved because it's pain. Now, I'm sitting here, I've zoomed in on this map, and you're going to love this part. I'm looking at the city of Boise, and you can do a super zoom in one quadrant. You've got Hillary 44%, 40%. Boy, the city of Boise, looking at this, 70% to 18% in certain places. It's amazing how Boise, and this is no big news story, it is a beacon of blue, and it starts getting, light red right out of Boise, a little darker red in Meridian, and you keep going, even in Caldwell a little. Look, in parts of Caldwell, you've got Trump up 50% to 37%. That's pretty good. And yet in another part, Trump barely wins 46% to 43%. But they break this down to the precinct level.
Yeah, so I just want to call out to conservatives that it's important to vote, get your friends to vote. Please teach your kids to vote and stay informed of the issues. There's so much going on, but we can't fix things in our nation if good people are pretending like things are fine and heading off to the football game and doing nothing.
Right. I would agree. Holly, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, talking about this story in the New York Times where it allows you to zoom in to see just how people voted. And I'm looking at parts of Boise, 50%, 70%, 60%, 56%, all voting for Hillary Clinton. In fact, Boise almost carried Ada County. Trump only won Ada County by 11% of the vote. Now you get to Meridian, Trump does fairly well. The more west you go, the greater Trump is. But the city of Boise, man, it's like this blue infection that continues on. Getting your thoughts, your reaction to it. And we go to Howard in Boise, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning. Hey, it's no surprise. I know you're still semi-new here or whatever, but if you put a pin at the co-op, there's more Subarus and Birkenstocks and blue voting people around there than you can imagine, and it's been that way for a long time.
Well, that's why I avoid those parts of the country.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just one thing I think happened in that election is that several older people in my family, they're real conservative, but they were extremely put off, and they still are, by Donald Trump's brashness and his, bare-knuckled style of politics, and they hate him. They really hate him, and it's mostly because of what he says. When they stand back and look at what he does, they like that, but they're more conservative, and they don't see any humility in him at all, and that turns them off in a big way. And I don't know for sure, but I would bet that they did not vote for him in the election.
You think they just stayed home then, or they didn't vote for Clinton though? Then?
No, they voted. They're tried and true voters, but I'm not sure. They won't talk about it. I think they're embarrassed or whatever. Maybe they voted blue for the first time in their life. But like I said, it's that bare-knuckled. It's the East Coast mentality that
right.
They're super kind of rude and in your face. And Idaho's much more soft and humble. They don't like big government, but they really don't like that bare-knuckled style. At least that's what I've seen in some of the people in my family.
You think that's still prevalent based on, let's go back to the primary, Howard, where we had anybody that was running was pro-President Trump. See, I always thought Idaho was unique, very similar to a degree like Utah, that didn't embrace Trump. Everybody here loved Ted Cruz. It was all about Cruz. And it was almost like we were a reluctant Trump state, and yet when we had opinion polls, when we had private polls done by politicians, the most popular person in the state of Idaho was Donald Trump, followed by Mitt Romney, followed by Butch Otter, a very eclectic threesome, if you will.
Well, depending on how the question is asked, you can make things go a lot of different directions and spin it the way you want. I think from the very beginning, at least, like I said, a lot of the older folks, especially on my wife's side, they just don't like that brash style of politics. I mean, he's getting it done, and I think that the results speak for themselves, and they like the results, but boy, they just cannot stand those tweets.
Howard, thank you for your insight. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Now, this is fascinating. I'm going down to the street level here. So you're looking at Boise neighborhoods. We're talking about 28th Street and West Hill Road. 75% of the people there, almost 1,000 people, Clinton over Trump. You're looking at West State Street and Harrison Boulevard. 76%. And I know this is a little Boise inside, and we're not a Boise show for obvious reasons because of all these libs, but for people that live and work in Boise, this is fascinating. Fairview Avenue to West State Street, almost 70% of the people there voting for Clinton. Boise Hills Village, 70%. The Highlands, 68%. They're coming. What can we do about it? Patriot Ray joins us on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Patriot Ray.
Good morning, Kevin. You've hit on a lot of hot topics this morning, and two things I'd like to touch on. Well, one is steel. We purchase the majority of our steel from China. They do not have the same Clean Air Acts that we do in the United States. So bring our steel back here. Let us produce it. Let us do what we do best, and that is keep our country cleaner. Let us take care of our people. Quit doing the HB1 visas like where Disney hired a bunch of people, had their own people who had great accolades for what they had done. They had had awards, and then yet they had to train HB1 visa people to come in to take their jobs because they paid less for them. So Rosenstein, Maxine Waters, Mueller, Strzok, Pelosi, and myriads of others need to go because what they're doing is destroying America, not helping build it. Mueller should never have been put in where he is because of what his position was beforehand. And Strzok, I cannot believe what comes out of that guy's mouth of what he posted, and then he's apologizing because he got caught for posting it. I just think that's horrendous. Now, what about Obama when he leaned over on an open mic to one of Russia's representatives and told him, tell Vlad I'll have more leeway when I'm reelected? What about those kind of things? Is that not collusion, too, to where he's telling somebody, I'm going to be better off once I'm elected, I can help Vlad more? I mean, come on, give me a break. They don't bring any of this stuff out, and we're getting tired of the lies. We're getting tired of people who just keep going on with the lies and the same narrative. What about our inequality? We we are pushed to the limit where businesses are forced out of business. And yes, we need to have clean air, but we can do it. And we have proven we can do it, yet the libs keep pushing to do it different ways and forcing companies out of business. And then here we are purchasing from China on the steel, like I said, and they don't care about the Clean Air Act. Their people have to go around wearing masks in their big cities because it's so bad. And yet here we are complaining because Trump may bring back steel to the United States. I hope that these steel companies open up and do everything they need to do, make it clean. And then I hope Ford opens up their steel plant also. It still exists. It's there. They maintain it, but they need to bring it up online also. Keep going with what you're doing. You know, you're a great American, and we love what you do in our area. And as far as Boise is concerned, Boise's been liberal for a long time, and it's just getting worse because we keep getting people who come from other states who want to change. But on the other hand, a lot of people here like what Clinton told them because they believe the lies. And they're continuing to believe the lies that Pelosi and Waters and all these people keep promoting. Why is not Waters taken out of office just because of what she said about going after Trump's people? If that were you or me, they'd probably have us in jail because we were inciting riots and causing problems. Now she's complaining because people are coming to her house and to her office complaining about her and asking for her impeachment, and she complains and wants protection because of that. Well, she wants gun control, so maybe she should get rid of her guards and just go forward because she believes in gun control so much. Kevin, thank you for my couple of minutes here. I hope that you do keep going what you're doing and stay fired up. Sorry, Liberal Steve, got to do it. And love you, Kevin. Take care. God bless.
God bless. Love you too, Patriot Ray. Doug in Mountain Home. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin. Doug, or not this caller, but the one before that where he's talking about having family members that, voted. They wouldn't say who they voted for. God bless my mom and dad. They're both gone. But I seen it, Kevin. I mean, them elderly people, and I got a neighbor it's the same way. I don't know where they got this. Well, I do too. They were raised when the Democrats were for Americans and for for the farmers and people that didn't make a lot of money. But that is long gone. This country, that part of it's long gone. And my dad was a diehard Democrat. I don't care if it was Satan himself running for freaking president and he was a Democrat, he's going to vote for him. So you ain't going to change that in these elderly people. I mean, it just ain't going to change. And you see what's coming into the state from California. I'm going to swallow real hard here, folks. I came from California in 1974. Came here in the service. And I didn't know nothing about politics then. I just joined the service, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it got me, it made me I guess I'm going to say a man. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was fighting with my folks. Anyway, what I'm saying is, when I left California, Kevin, it was Northern Cal up by Red Bluff. It was a great place. It was just like this kind of country. I mean, I walked out my door and went hunting all my life when I was there. I was only there 10 years, from 7 to 17, to join the service and came here. But I see it now. And I've been down there lately because I got a nephew that's still down there. And that place is an absolute freaking disaster. Even in the northern part, it is completely taken over by Vietnamese, by drug addicts, by freaking, you name it, it's there. And this thing about, I think I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again about the pot oil, whatever. Yeah, right. You can't believe the money that's going down around there on everything, and you hear everybody bragging about it, and damn sure ain't pot oil, people. What do you think? Just like Colorado? I see where they have one day a year, they have smoke pot day or whatever. They want them brain dead, Kevin, and they've got them. I mean, and you got the same thing coming here, just like the guy said, more Subarus driving around. Well, I call them a lettuce heads because that's what they are. I've been up in northern Montana working up there running a chip sealing truck, putting the oil down, hot oil down.
Sure. And Doug, great point. I got to run, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Bye-bye. Traffic and weather together. Next, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.